My name is Robbie Lawlor. I'm 25 and I am from Dublin in Ireland. And I guess I'm a HIV advocate now, if I can call myself that. So yeah, I just work in the area of HIV.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you got your diagnosis and how that was?
Yeah, well, I was 21. I just finished college 4 years. And I was just on my way to Australia with all my friends. And I never got a sexual health check before, so I was like, right, I'm going to get one. Because I was always in long-term relationships. I never thought, I wasn't symptomatic for anything. I didn't think I needed one. So I remember going, and I remember I thought I was going to get this like dreaded swab down the penis, but that was never the case. Just peed in the jar, got bloods done. And that was fine until 3 weeks later. I got a call, and they asked me to come back in, and they told me my results was positive. Now, I didn't even know HIV existed in Ireland. I really didn't understand how this 21-year-old guy who's just out of a long-term relationship was getting this diagnosis, do you know? And I was like, can I go to Australia? Well, back in 2012, you actually legally couldn't get a residency visa if you're HIV positive in Australia. So that was like all my dreams just taken away from me. Everything I worked for college essentially was taken away from me. And then I asked, am I going to live? Because I didn't know the difference between HIV and AIDS then. I just thought I was going to die of AIDS. And they said my immune system was quite low, but once I start medication, my immune system can go right back up to normal and I'm going to live a long life. So straight after that, I was able to go see a social worker, and I was able to bring my mum straight in and tell her, because me and my mum are best mates, I knew I could tell her. And then I just kind of took it from there.
How does your HIV diagnosis affect your everyday life?
Well, to be honest, medically, it's like one tablet a day, so nothing. In that case. Initially it was kind of hard because I was like, oh, I'm never going to have sex again. How am I ever going to tell anyone who I date again? Do you know, all of these things? Like, it's a lot of anxiety. As in, oh, who's going to find out? If someone finds out, everyone's going to know. Feeling yourself as less or dirty or unclean, all these words you hear about. I did think about that for quite a while. But then I knew that was a lot of crap. Do you know? I'm not less, I'm not unclean, I'm not dirty. And the reality is, medically, it's just one tablet a day. And just the social bit, you overcome.
You were saying kind of earlier as well, when you did find out your status at first, you were a little bit anxious about it. And like, is there, any advice you give people who might be HIV positive, who are nervous about maybe going back on the scene in terms of dating or getting into relationships, or how they might, disclose their status to potential partners?
First things first, if you're living with HIV, never be ashamed of yourself, ever, ever. Do you know what? You're just a normal person just getting on with their life. So never feel ashamed of yourself and never feel less than anyone else. It's very easy to feel like that when you're living with HIV. So that's what I wanted to put out first. Secondly, when you're dating someone, you don't need to tell them on the first date. You might not even like them, do you know? Personally, I tell them on people around the fifth date because they kind of get to know you as a person, not you living with HIV, do you know? And on the fifth date, they're like, oh, okay, it's just another part of you, whatever, you know? But I also say, if you're going on a date and you're like, HIV is ruining my life, and start crying, anyone will run a mile, do you know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't have to ruin your life. Medically, no. And you shouldn't allow it to make you feel less. Be confident in yourself. When I told my boyfriend, Morris, at the time, about my HIV status, it was on the fifth date, and I was like, I have something to tell you. Like, I'm living with HIV. I have in the last, 2 years, year. And I told them all about the partner study, which tells you if you're undetectable, you can't pass it on. And I was like, do you know what? Love my life, whatever. And I was like, if you can't handle that, I understand, but it's just not going to work. And I think he was taken back by that because I was like so strong about it. And he was like, okay. He looked up a little bit about it, and then we were together 3 years after. And it's just never been an issue. Because I never let it be an issue, you know? And I always say, if someone's like gives you a bad reaction to HIV, I was like, well, you don't want to be with them in the first place, you know? So I was like, it's a good kind of test, you know, red flag. So I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing. It's actually quite a fun thing to do. I love seeing people's reactions to it sometimes. So yeah.